Hello new warriors! In this video we are going to cover Mongil Stardive, the latest action RPG coming from Netmarble, and we're going to cover my early impressions so far after about 10 hours playing, what my thoughts are, and whether it's right for you. That being said, let's jump in. So let's get straight into the gameplay components, since that is perhaps the biggest selling point of any game and whether or not you continue to play it. Now, I'm not going to go into full detail since there is quite a lot to cover, but I want to just cover the basics and really give you the incentive and reason as to picking up and playing when it does come out. So at its core, Stardive, for short, is a combination of monster capturing meets action RPG. Now, you would think these two elements when combined are kind of awkward, but surprisingly, it's very, very fun. And the gameplay side, or at least the action RPG side, feels very similar to that of Zenless Zone Zero or Genshin, where you're utilizing your characters in sequence. You're swapping between characters, utilizing their respective elements in tandem to get value against certain bosses and mobs. And then as you progress through the game, you're leveling up your gear, leveling up your weapons, your skills. But now you have the component of monster capturing, which is like an added extension to your character. Think of it as additional buffs that you would get. So every time you capture a monster, every monster has their own unique element that they utilize, but also they come with their own unique buffs, like let's say extra defense, extra crit rate, extra attack, so on and so forth, which is pretty cool. And furthermore, you can combine different buffs to create a unique monster in itself. That is, if there is, let's say, one monster that you really like, you can take one buff off of that monster and then go to another monster and take that buff and combine it together to create one monster with those two respective buffs that you really favored into another powerful monster, which is pretty cool. So think of that, for those who played Path of Exile, think of that as like the recombination machine in the end game, where you take your favorite weapons, you take your own respective buffs off of those weapons, combine it together to create a very powerful tool. So that's pretty much what it is in a nutshell. And so the gameplay is more open zone versus open-ended or open world. And so for those unfamiliar with the terms, open world is what you'd expect in a game like Genshin, where you jump into the game, it's very much a sandbox. You go wherever you want, you can explore however you want, but in Mongil Stardive, it's very similar to that of Zenless Zone Zero, where it's more open zone. The zones themselves are very big, very spacious. You can roam around and do what you need to do. However, if you wanted to go to the next zone, you'd have to teleport there, and then you have that new zone to explore. It isn't just a seamless transition between you running through an open world and you're just connected to the other space. It's more of, okay, let me go to this zone first, finish it off, then teleport to the next zone, so on and so forth. So if that feels good to you or sounds good to you, then that's what you'd expect so far gameplay wise in Mongil Stardive. Again, I didn't want to go into a deep dive since there's more to uncover in the game, so look forward to a later review, but that's pretty much the gist of the gameplay at its core. So let's go in now to the overall presentation. Is it worth looking at? Let's get to it. When it comes to presentation, Mongil Stardive does a very good job at executing this, not just in the characters and their overall designs and appeal, but more so in navigating the UI and just quality of life type of experiences. From my own past experience, logging into a game where there is just a constant array of information thrown at me, it was very overwhelming, but I felt a sense of ease as I navigated through each menu in Stardive. And because of the simplicity of everything, it really felt like I can digest all the information very easily. And if I felt lost in some area, I could always go back and find that respective menu very quickly. That to me was a huge plus. The fact that it still takes inspiration from your other respective ARPGs on the market, but takes its own spin on it with its own unique set of characters and tools. And overall, I would say just the music in the game is fantastic. Just take a listen at this and let me know what you think in the comments. But this is something that really surprised me, that when you are in the character screen, there is music going on in the background as you're playing with your character, as you're editing your character. It's really satisfying. It feels like you're in a tavern. Take a listen.
掃除日和ですね。これは良い品物です。お目が高いですね。こんな貴重なものを私に。光栄です。あなたの敵は私の敵です。剣の切っ先が揺れてはいけない。
That to me just feels so welcoming, you know? It just feels as if I'm walking into an open tavern and everyone's so jovial and happy and celebrating life. That's the vibe I get when I'm just literally on the character screen, just making my characters. It's so satisfying to listen to. It's a very welcoming tone, and I think more games should apply this to their games. But this is perhaps, to me, a big plus. This is just me personally. For others, it may not be their preference, but for me, I really enjoyed it. Let me know in the comment section what you think after listening to it. Also, if you've made it this far in the video and you do enjoy what you're watching so far and want to become a new warrior, then make sure to slam that like button, subscribe, and comment for more. So in the end, presentation wise, I do feel like there is a lot of great value with regards to Mongil Stardive. There's of course some issues pertaining to, abrupt cutscenes cutting off at certain moments, certain power-ups and their respective visual effects kind of bugging out at times, but those are very, very tiny and can be fixed very easily. But overall, I'm very impressed thus far. As I said earlier, the voicing is fantastic. Some might be familiar to you who've played other respective anime games. But that all being said, what are my current thoughts on the game as it stands? So at the end of the day, after 10 plus hours playing, my current thoughts on the game are pretty positive. I would say that overall, what I've received as far as the experience has been more than what I expected. I came in with low expectations, but was very surprised at the fact that much of the game was voiced, which is fantastic, and the voicing is amazing. Every character feels like their own, and the cutscenes, the transitioning between you and your characters while you're fighting is fantastic. Everything feels snappy as it should. Every attack feels weighty and appropriate to the respective character. You know how in some games you have a character with a hammer, but they're not even, the swings don't feel like a swing. But in this game, a character like Reina, she's a lightning character. She has like this big hammer, and when she wields it, you can feel the weight of every swing. And then you play someone like Esther, who's more of the assassin, very quick and very agile, and you can also feel the difference. And so every character that you play with, respectively, really does feel immersive. It feels intuitive, and that's how a game should feel. And then, as I said earlier, the UI, the overall navigation feels very welcoming, didn't feel overwhelmed. I know the question of gacha might come up, and to be honest with you, I haven't seen anything gacha related in the game so far. Maybe it's later on, after 20 plus hours, I don't know. But if you want to see my full on impression breakdown, then again, subscribe and I'll make a video for you to give you the full detail. But for now, after 10 plus hours, I haven't seen any gacha. All the characters that I've unlocked and played with so far have all been unlocked just by playing the game, which is pretty cool. So in the end, I'm impressed. I feel like I want to see more of the game. I want to unlock more. I want to dive in deeper. But as it stands, the gameplay is great. I think a lot of people who love games of this aesthetic, the anime aesthetic, will really fall in love with it, especially the monsters. They're very cute, very well designed. And I feel like whether you are an avid hardcore gamer or just a casual picking it up, it'll appeal to you in the same way. So that being said, New Warriors, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you as always. Stay strong, keep fighting, and may the force be with you all always. Stay tuned for more. If you want to see more ARPGs, roguelikes, and shooters, you know what to do. Until then, take care.